The importance of this last series against the Rockies, the real reason Bob Melvin got the extension, and the Giants linked to top international prospect Luis Hernández. It's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Alan Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now. I also have a radio show, Sacktown Sports 1140, the Alan Stiles Show, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. Be sure to check that out, as well as emceeing Sacramento River Cats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we're talking about why this Rockies game is more important than you think, the real reason Bob Melvin got that extension, and the Giants linked to top international prospect Luis Hernández. So you may not think that this last series against the Rockies is very important, and I get it. I'm very much the type of person who, if you're not playing for a championship, then what are we doing? If you're not playing to get into the playoffs, then what are we doing? But there are some reasons I think that it is extremely important that the Giants finish off the season the right way, specifically for them and how they are viewed. The Giants showed some heart and some fight last night, pulling off a gritty win that quietly reminded us that this roster still has something to play for. In a game where most expected them to just mail it in, they instead showed some moxie. They battled, they made adjustments, and they took advantage of the opportunities. The San Francisco Chronicle captured that spirit with their headline, "Playoff Picture, ? Show of moxie beating Cardinals." That win won't change the standings, but it's a flicker of pride and competitive spark. But let's be real. That spark can't be it, right? That spark can't last alone. What's coming next is what really matters. The Giants' final series against the Rockies. They are terrible. The Rockies are a complete joke, to be completely honest with you. It's a club that's been among the worst in all of baseball this year and in the history of Major League Baseball. To lose a series to them would be completely inexcusable. The optics would be terrible, and the hand of leadership may be forced at that point to make a decision on the managerial staff. Because make no mistake, this front office led by Buster Posey already indicated their faith in Bob Melvin by picking up his 2026 option midseason. We have plenty to talk about in the second segment about that, but that does not guarantee anything beyond that. If San Francisco stumbles again, especially to one of the worst teams in the history of baseball, there will be pressure for a change. Posey is not someone who's going to tolerate a culture of mediocrity or worse, because if you're under 500, then you're not even average. A series loss might be what turns a gesture of confidence into necessary crossroads, keeping Melvin or making a definitive break and signs of real accountability. So the next three games aren't just about pride to me. They're about proving a direction. The Giants can't let that late spark that already extinguished get even worse. If they lose this, it might not just close the door on 2025, but it might seal the fate of Bob Melvin's run in San Francisco. And before you even get going, let me stop you in your tracks. You got Verlander, and then you have Webb as well, and I believe they're going with McDonald. Those are your three starters. You can't lose that series. There are no reasons you can lose that series. And I don't care if they end up giving different guys at bats or starting different dudes. You have to win that series at home. I don't know who all was watching the game yesterday. I don't know if it got announced as a sellout, but there were a lot of empty seats. There were a lot of empty seats, and they're probably going to be, I don't know, because it is the last series, but there will be some empty seats this weekend. Maybe not as bad because, like I said, it is the last series, but there are going to be some empty seats. So you're Buster Posey. This is embarrassment on the line. This is one of those situations where you don't really have anything to gain in beating the Rockies, but you have everything to lose. Everything to lose. If you lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, and I don't care if you don't get swept. Getting swept would be, I don't even have the words. If losing the series would be inexcusable. Getting swept would be a travesty. It would be ridiculous. But even losing the series, to me, that would be a really bad look. If you lose the first 2 games and win the last game to end the season, I think that would feel better because you would have lost the last game of the season. But 500 is on the line. Pride is on the line. Jobs are on the line. This is a big deal. you have really nothing to gain because you can't make the playoffs. And if you beat the Rockies, everyone's going to say, whoop-de-doo, they're terrible. But if you lose to the Rockies, if you lose a series to the Rockies, this could be a problem. It is a shady, low-key, very important series for Bob Melvin. It is. And I know you can never tell that because you never know. And he's very even keel. You never know if the Giants are up or down. He's always the same guy. And a lot of people think that's really good in sports. This is a really big series against a really bad opponent. So all you got to do is take care of business. All you got to do is exactly what you're supposed to do. Beat a team that you are better than. Don't care if Jung-Hoo Lee doesn't play a series. I know Robbie Ray isn't pitching. He's been struggling a little bit anyway. I don't care. You lose this series, I think Buster Posey might not have a choice. You lose this series to the Rockies, and look, we can talk about the goodwill. We can talk about Elliot Ramos and the crew, and Logan Webb clarified his statements about, things being tough. He said he's backing Bob Melvin 100%. That's all fine and good. There's going to be a lot of Bob Melvin on the show today. And then we're going to close it out with Luis Hernández, top prospect that the Giants are linked to. But good for Logan Webb for clearing everything up. I'm just not understanding, or I'm not seeing how you lose a series to the Rockies and Bob Melvin keeps his job. At home, by the way. At home. And I think that matters. I think on the road, it would be a little bit different. You just lost a series to the Cardinals, who you had a better record than. You cannot lose this series. This is an extremely important series because it's a layup, right? It's all lined up for everybody to do whatever they want to do. All the media members that want to stay close with the Giants. You say, look, well, they ended the series with a sweep. Well, they did win a series to end the season. So some of that goodwill is still there. If you don't get it done, there are no excuses. Zero excuses. So I think this series, a lot of people might not feel the same way, or on the surface at least, but I think this series is very important for one person, for Bob Melvin. That's it. Everybody else, maybe not. But Bob Melvin and maybe a Drew Gilbert, some of those guys on the outskirts, maybe them too. But this is a huge series for Bob Melvin. I think Drew Gilbert, I would put him in that conversation too, because the brother cannot hit right now. And the last time he did hit, it was against Rockies, but it was in Colorado. But this is all about Bob Melvin. You cannot lose this series. I don't care who they throw out. If they're wearing the orange and black, you got to get it done. Next segment, let's keep the Bob Melvin train rolling. Let's discuss the real reason Bob Melvin got that option. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with the can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, the best way to add a little more energy on Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. It is time to discuss the truth behind Bob Melvin's option. The Giants surprised many in early July when they exercised Bob Melvin's 2026 option, even as the team was sliding. Keep that in mind. On paper, that move looked like a strong vote of confidence from Buster Posey and the front office. Posey publicly praised Melvin's leadership, preparation, and relationship with players, saying he believed Melvin was the right person to continue guiding this team forward. Melvin himself called the decision meaningful, saying it showed alignment with the organization and gratitude for the support. He added, "We have a lot of unfinished business this year, and I'm looking forward to the work ahead." That's a crazy statement to read now. That is a crazy statement to read now that we know how the season ended. That's nuts, man. That's nuts. But timing does matter. The option was exercised in the midst of a rough stretch when the Giants had lost 6 of 7. Scott Osler questioned whether this move was more smoke than substance, suggesting it served to quiet the news and buy time rather than reflect long-term commitment. Posey's rationale was that if blame was to be assigned, it should rest on himself, the roster architect, rather than single out the manager or coaching staff. staff. And we understand that's Buster Posey just being a good manager. He's being Buster Posey. Inside the clubhouse, many voices back Melvin. Logan Webb, who has been one of the more consistent performers, he called the option pickup a vote of confidence and compared Melvin to Bruce Bochy and said that everyone in this clubhouse has his back. But that same Webb, just a couple days ago, and this is what he cleared up, Webb did not shy away from the frustration after playoff elimination, calling this, quote, probably the most frustrating squad he's been on, and lamenting that, quote, we've let it stay wrong for a long time. Now, he was talking in general. He wasn't talking specifically with Bob Melvin. So what should we make of the option? On one hand, it solidifies that Melvin won't be an interim or lame duck manager this season. It removes speculation of an in-season firing, and especially now that there's only, 3 games left, and gives him a staff a clear runway through 2026. On the other hand, the move doesn't guarantee long-term extensions or absolve him if 2026 doesn't deliver results. As far as whether or not Bob Melvin should stay, there's a strong argument that the issues this season went well beyond managerial decisions. The bullpen failures, lack of depth, midseason roster construction, and recurring collapse patterns are as far in front of the front office failings as much as the coaching ones. But the fact remains, if the front office believed in Bob Melvin and his vision enough to pick up his option, they need to follow through in how they build the roster and support him. That's the real test ahead. So with all that being said, that I just broke down, this is the bottom line. Bob Melvin and his extension, a lot of people believe that that extension was simply to give them a little boost, right? To put some fire behind their you-know-whats and get them going a little bit. They had been brutal. They had been struggling, and this was more so an act of, let's see if this will get the guys going a little bit. Let's discuss again. They were 13-14 in June, and since May, at that time, it happened at the beginning of July, they were 26-28. So the front office, and they had made that deal for Devers, they're scrambling around trying to figure out what can we do to make people or make the team kind of get up again and get going. Let's give Bob Melvin this extension, because you know what? Whatever happens at the end of the season, we don't feel attached to him the same way some may think. Think about it like this. It's just a year extension. So you could go into 2026, and Bob Melvin is in the same situation, wondering if he would get extended again, wondering if he'll get to finish out the season, or if it doesn't go well, will they just move on from during the season, which we know Buster Posey doesn't necessarily want to do. So that is how everything clear is up to me, right? It's not as if they've made this long-term commitment to Bob Melvin. And I'll be the first to admit it. I was on the side of, why did they extend him? Why did they do this? Then when I thought about it, and I talked to some people, not going to lie, but then when I thought about it, as well as talking to some people, I said, hold on, man. Hold on. This option, the Giants can do whatever they want with the option. The Giants are not tripping off of money. That's very clear. They did it at that time, trying to give the Giants a kick in the pants to get going here and get back on track. It didn't work, but in no way, shape, or form do the Giants feel like they are completely connected or they are attached to Bob Melvin at the hip. You know, they've hitched themselves to Bob Melvin's wagon, sort of say, because of this option. It's just a one-year option. It doesn't mean nothing. It's not that it means nothing, but it just gives the Giants, if anything, more time to make a decision. So going back to the first segment, you lose this series to the Rockies, there's not much to say. There's not much to say. You can look at these things a couple ways, and you can say all he needs is one more year, or you can say we're going to get out of Dodge and understand that it's not working. And we can't afford for it to not work, because we literally are paying for it to work. So if we got to eat whatever we got to eat with Bob Melvin's contract, that's fine. The Giants were clearly in a position where they thought that the window was open larger than it was or ended up being. Then they went and got Devers because they thought the window was open. They wanted to strike on it, right? Dodgers were kind of down. They can't keep pitchers healthy. The Padres, they always choke. So maybe we have an opportunity here. The Diamondbacks are up and down. Maybe we have an opportunity here. So that's number one, right? Then after that, They went and go get Devers. That didn't help. Then they said, okay, now let's give Bob Melvin an option. They were just willing to try anything possible in that moment to squeeze this season for everything it was worth, which is crazy that they still ended up having to sell at the deadline. But that's what this was, more so than we believe in Bob Melvin. Because think about it. We believe in him so much to give him another year. If somebody's going to really believe in you, they're going to give you a multi-year contract. If they don't want you to go anywhere, no, we're trying to lock you down. But a year option, that's all right, cool. People are on year contracts all the time. And as you approach, the 9-month mark, you're already worried about whether or not you're going to get the next contract. So it doesn't really give that much stability, or as much stability as maybe a lot of us think. So moving on from Bob Melvin is not that big of a deal, because I see it all the time. And like I said, I was one of those people. Why did they do this? Why would they give him that contract? Then when you start to break it down, in reality, it's not that big of a deal if they don't want it to be. Now, if they go out and they sweep the Rockies, win the Rocky series handily, like I said, and people might be thinking Allen's putting a lot on this Rocky series. That's just how bad the Rockies are. That's how bad the Rockies are. And it would be the last time that we see this will be the last time that we see the San Francisco Giants in 2025. This will be the last thing that the front office, Buster Posey, will have when they go into their office, their boardroom for the offseason. And this is the last thing that they will remember. They already lost to the Cardinals. They already lost that series. You lose to the Rockies. That is, if you are a fan, or if you want Bob Melvin, you want them to move on from Bob Melvin, I would never say to root against the Giants or to root for somebody to lose his job. But if they do not win the series, and he might get let go either way, don't get me wrong, but he definitely is getting let go, in my opinion, if you lose to the Rockies. Or I would need a really, really good explanation. One more segment with you. Let's discuss Luis Hernández, top international prospect that's been linked to the San Francisco Giants. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette. Go Long. That's exactly where Rougiette Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can get hard and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to RUGIET.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. So this isn't exactly a player profile because he's not on the Giants yet, but the Giants are in line to get this stud, Luis Hernández. He's being called a diamond in the rough out of Venezuela, and signs point to him aligning with San Francisco when the 2026 international signing window opens. He's only 15, but he's already making noise in the LMBP, seeing action and not yet having an official MLB agreement. He's logged 9 games so far, tallying a double, 2 homers, 4 RBIs with a 200 average in limited plate appearances. He even became the youngest player to ever hit a home run in that league. When you see this dude swing a bat, I'm just telling you right now, it does not look like a 15-year-old. It doesn't look like a 15-year-old at all. His profile is turning heads. In the newly released top 50 international prospect list, Hernandez is ranked number 1 among international position players for 2026. That speaks volumes considering he's doing it at such a young age. The reports highlight plus tools, bat speed, maturity, instincts, and defensive promise up the middle. The Giants in particular have been strongly linked to Hernandez. Scouting circles and prospect accounts have labeled San Francisco the favorite to land his services, and rumors suggest he may command a 7-figure signing bonus. Gee whiz. Interestingly, the Giants are expected to enter the 2026 signing period with one of the lowest international bonus pools among teams. That could complicate the negotiation, requiring them to be creative with trades for bonus, pool space, things like that. If they're going to give Hernandez a deal, he's likely going to demand. If Hernandez signs with San Francisco, as many do expect, his future could reshape the infield landscape. His age, plus tools and defensive profile make him a candidate to grow into a premium middle infielder, either at shortstop or second base. He's not just a lottery ticket. He's one of the more polished top prospects emerging from the 2026 international class. Of course, there are a lot of risks. Developing at 15 is a long, long road. The leap from hitting in the LMBP to facing elite pitching in the U.S. is enormous. Injuries, adjustments to velocity, pitch recognition, and consistency demanded in pro ball all loom. But the upside is rare, people. I'm telling y'all, go check out this dude's tape. A controllable long-term shortstop with offensive and defensive promise. If the Giants do pull this off and can pull this off, signing Hernandez while managing bonus pool constraints, it would be a statement that their international scouting is not just surviving, but thriving. More importantly, they'd be laying another building block for their core. So this is forever from now, right? This is forever from now. He's not even signed to the Giants yet, but the Giants, they're showing that they're really trying to level up here with what they're doing in the international space. That is one thing that we've seen from them these last couple years, and that's exactly what we need to keep seeing. The Giants are doing things in a different way, and I will say this, I don't say Farhan's name often as we have moved on from Farhan Zaidi, and it is what it is, but the farm system was a mess. It was a mess, and the Giants are clearly making it a high priority to fix said mess however they can. They're looking internationally. They're obviously looking in the draft. And I do like what the Giants tend to be doing with the international kind of juxtaposed to their draft picks. The Giants, they seem to, in the draft, be going with the college guys and guys that are more so ready to go. But then on the international side, we can grab a 15, 16-year-old and kind of marry that together. And I like that thought process because it's almost as if you're taking bigger gambles and you're taking more sure things. But in the process, you're ensuring that you're getting guys with high ceilings and you're getting guys that might not have as high of ceilings. Maybe they surprise you, but you know, or you feel as if they could be an everyday player, they could be a platoon, whatever the case may be. So I really do like what the Giants are doing in that regard, from the international, from the drafting, everything they're doing, all the signees, their prospect list jumped up 10 spots, as I've said before. And that just typically doesn't happen that quickly. So kudos to Buster Posey and the crew. I told y'all we're going to start being more hopeful here as the season comes to a close, because during the offseason, it's going to be filled with hope. And hopefully they are able to ink Luis Hernández to a deal, and everybody can feel really good about that. Obviously, the Giants, there's a ways to go. I mean, I don't even know how old will be by the time he's ready for the big show. But instead of a player profile, I wanted to give that to you guys, because being number one out of all the international position players, that's a big deal. And that's why, and that's so funny that they're calling him a hidden gem. A hidden gem getting signed for 7 figures doesn't feel like much of a hidden gem. Seems like everybody is very aware of who this dude is and what he could become. But you watch him swing and he just doesn't look 15. He's got the juice, as we call it. He's got the juice in that swing. And if you can get that, and for that to be at a premium position, middle infielder, this is what we're talking about. So when we go back to some of the guys that we've seen, when we discussed it, Christian Costas, again, college dude, Casey Schmidt, again, college dude, these guys that are able to play at the highest level, able to play in the show, we get all that. But where are their ceilings? Now you're taking some risks in guys, because as we've continued to say, you're going to need the big boys. You're going to need the big boys at some point. You're going to need somebody that is on these MLB Network, on these ESPN top 50 players in the league. You need somebody like that. Now, the Giants, everybody talks about the even years. Oh, they didn't have a star. Do not sleep on Buster Posey, and do not sleep on their pitching staff. They had top 50 players all over. And the stretch that Pablo had, even if it was a bit short-lived, they had top 50 players all over. Do the Giants have a top 50 player, right? I mean, they have Rafi Devers. And it's difficult because you got pitchers and position players. Do they have another top 50 player on their team right now other than Rafi Devers? Willy Adames? Maybe. Especially if you're including pitching and position players. Maybe Willy Adames. Somebody would probably try to argue Patrick Bailey defensively, but that's not going to work. Matt Chapman, I don't know. So we understand if you look at the rest of the NL West, right? The Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, those are two top 50 guys right there. Don't even need to mention the Dodgers and don't even need to mention the Padres. It's that simple. You have to have some top 50 players. You have to have the cream of the crop. You look around, and that's what we'll do when the playoffs start. As we break down how the Giants can compete. You look around, and I guess you could argue Logan Webb, top 50 player, but you look around, and the Giants, they don't have enough firepower. It's that simple. And you can keep, and this is the argument people say, Alan, you're arguing Drew Gilbert, and you're arguing Casey Schmidt. I get it, but they've also spent the money. So now you try to decide, okay, well, did they spend the money the correct way? We could argue Willy Adames is top 50. Cool. That's big money. Matt Chapman, I don't know if he's top 50, but he's got big money. Now, there's no salary cap in baseball, so it's a little different. Jung-Hoo Lee is not top 50. Elliot Ramos is not top 50. So these are the decisions that you need to make. And we're going to talk about it all off season. But one more series, they kick it off tomorrow. And we will be back tomorrow on a beautiful Friday. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow us on social media at @_Styles File, Styles with an I. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen. For your second listen, find the all night Locked On MLB game night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB game night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.